In this video, we're talking with Coach Adam Harvey from Clemens High School in Texas, and he's going to go over everything about palms. So everything you need to know to install palms, how to practice palms. We have all the clips in this hour-long video, and I know it's long, but I promise you by the end of this video, you're going to be able to install palms with no issues. And he has the practice film, like I said, he has game film, so you can see visually everything that coach is running to be able to install into your defense. Now let's get to the video. Okay, Coach, now we're going to be going over some drill tape. What are we looking at here?
Yeah, so, with being a press team, I think it's really, really imperative that you work these type of drills, right? I mean, I think with impeding the progress of the receiver is kind of what we mantra in our press stuff. And so if we, can kind of mirror our stuff with zone and man stuff, I think it helps us, it helps our kids segue into, whatever coverage we're in. And so with our press palm stuff right here, what you're going to see as I roll it is just a simple mirror. You can see the eyes of the DB are straight on the hips of the receiver. So these guys are just going to do what we call the typewriter move. As they typewriter, we're staying low in good posture. That's really good posture there with the flat back. And what we're doing is just staring through the midsection, right? So as a basketball player, these kids play a lot of basketball. What I want them to understand is, it's just like playing one-on-one defense, right? We're going to mirror his movement the entire time. And then what we do, these kids will get out of the way in just a second, but what we do there is now we have a 2-yard rule. So whether it's a 2-yard inside release or a 2-yard outside release, we're mirroring the movement of that receiver. One of the key coaching points for us, as you see, and the reason I like to turn this horizontally with a thick white line being the out of bounds just beyond the ticks, we tell these kids we want to get as close as we can, right, to that belly button of the receiver without crossing over the line of scrimmage for obvious reasons, not being offsides. But even post-snap, we don't want to be too aggressive. I think a lot of the young guys, when they hear press, they want to play man. And then the second thing, when you tell them, hey, we're going to zone out of this as well, they cross and lunge, right? And so they can get themselves out of phase right now. And what we're trying to do is avoid that as much as possible. So we'll use that thick white line. A lot of times we'll even use some laydowns early on when we're teaching in camp. And so we just say, hey, don't cross the river. And when he does, he's now in your world, your territory, and then you own him. So as I roll the tape here, you'll see an outside release, right? He should just go ahead and mirror the outside release of the receiver, right? And then the ball would be to this DB's right, the receiver's left. So you can see there's a zone turn right there as soon as he lays hands on, okay? One of the things that I get a lot of questions on is why we two-hand press. I know that's probably not the most popular thing to do with a lot of DB coaches. There's two reasons why I think the two-hand press works. As long as you drop that inside hand from a zone and the outside hand from a man, right, concept, you're going to get more of an impeded look, right? So impedsion is our word. We want to impede the progress and throw timing off of what that receiver wants to do in conjunction with his quarterback. So if we can get a two-hand press, what I tell those kids all the time is once he crosses the river, he's now in our world. We're in an alley fight, right? I've never seen a dude that's ready to win an alley fight that goes in there and press bells, right? Punch and bell, okay? We do work punch and bell. We have a call for that. But I think in our day one press stuff, we want a two-hand jam. As you can see, there's the inside release, the two-hand jam, and now we just send him on his way as we drop into our coverage. You'll see that here in a minute. I'll talk about that on film. But that's just another great drill. Again, turning it horizontally so that they can get that 2-yard mindset. As I said in the beginning, we want to mirror that thing for 2 yards. So it would be from the 18 to the 22-yard line here.
Yeah, and Coach, I just want to add one thing. Yeah, the one thing I love about playing press, especially with an outside release, like I believe I stole this from Jeff Hafley at Boston College, where if you get an outside release when the guy's on the numbers, there's really two routes you can run. It's a go ball and a comeback, right? Just spacing wise. So just being able to get two hands on him and then go out. And one other thing I wanted to ask you about is, do you have a set rules where, if he's inside my frame, I'm punching with two hands. If he leaves my frame, I'm punching with the one hand. And if he's wide split releasing, I'm just trying to shuffle off and cut off his angle. Like, how do you teach that part of it?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I think, as you can see even here in the film, sometimes if it is an inside release, so right now we're working the inverted set on film. And so, I really don't want those guys to be robots. In a perfect world, we're getting a two-hand press, right? But if he releases outside my frame and all I can get is one, that's great. As long as I'm impeding his progress. Again, there's that word and phrase that comes back into play.
Right.
But I couldn't agree more. If you're getting that outside release, then you're already shrinking the opportunities and possibilities that these guys have, right? And so now you can position yourself accordingly based on, where the safety's position is as well. So we don't want to be, robotic, Coach, I think would be my answer to your question there. Not to bail on the question, but I don't teach a whole lot of that. I just want to make sure we're making progress.
Right. Right. And it's one thing you don't want to overcoach either, because then they're thinking about, well, is he technically outside my frame? So do I have to one hand this or two hand this? Or as long as the angle's cut off and you're running. Yep.
1,000%. And, a lot of times, and Nick Saban and those guys that have done this for years, I want to say it was Lawyer Malloy. There was a dude on the Patriots that was really good at it. It was either him or like Rodney Harrison or somebody like that did the cougar technique. I don't know if you've seen that. So like in this picture, this DB would make a man turn, and then he's not going to here, but as soon as that man turns, so he snaps his eyes right here in the zone turn, right? In a man turn, we still snap our eyes inside of two. On that outside release, especially our younger guys, our freshmen, and then all the way down into our middle school feeders, we see a lot of that. And so, rather than, I want them to zone turn, don't get me wrong, and we rep the mess out of it. But rather than jumping those kids too much, hey, as long as you can shoot your eyes back inside, hey, we're still good, right? And you're actually kind of baiting the quarterback into some mistakes because I think they're in man coverage, right? So if they're throwing, running some type of shoot route right now to the flat, we snap our eyes back inside. Now we might actually be in good phase to make a play. Right. And so, again, not overcoaching it, but as long as your eyes end up where they need to be, we're okay at the end of the day, right? So, it's one of those things, too, where I like to turn it, like here vertically, back to the game-like setting. You mentioned it, too. Like, when they run this outside route, they are squeezing their options. And so if I freeze it right now, he's about a yard and a half from the ticks. Yeah. And that's what we want. We want that wider release, and that's why we're pressing, right? Yeah. So as we continue on, now we'll throw safeties in. So you can see there's no corner. And again, I'll talk about this in game film. So our safeties read is actually going to be the release of one prior to reading two in our palm stuff. And so, again, that may be a little backwards to a lot of people. But I just want to check that release of one, mainly for the side pocket smash stuff. We see a lot of smash. But even like if it's a vertical push by, if we're getting 4 verts, which obviously is a cover 2 beater, it can also be a palms beater. I might be able to what we call a railroad technique. I might be able to railroad 1 and 2 and still make a play on either one. Right? There's actually a clip in here where we're actually running it against a 3x1 set, which is a little bit of a tendency breaker for us. But our safety made a heck of a play because he was able to read that release of one. The corner did his job by requiring that guy to release wider than what he really wanted to. And now we've thrown off timing and we've allowed the safety to get over the top of the ball. So after we'll do that, so you can see there's a couple of reps right there with just the safety. And so now the corner is going to jump in. They call their coverage. What coverage are we in? All right, so this is going to be the 2 reads. So, again, impeding the progress. There's the run. Now they both should come run fit. If you see a block at any point, I feel like you're going to read that block quicker from the number 1 receiver in a press coverage mindset than you would if you were reading the slot, right, in normal palms. Yep. And so as you see that right there, right, the corner was on the last rep, and now as we start this thing over, it's the same rep that he saw prior before the corner was even in the drill. And if I fast forward it here, I'll just try to click over here. Here we go. Now the corner is in the drill. It makes his read a lot quicker from the safety position.
Yeah, that's a great point.
So we'll drill that a lot.
Yeah, it's a great point too, Coach, because it's almost like a built-in fail-safe too, because if your eyes are wrong, where if you read, like say if you're reading high hat, low hat from that tackle and you're wrong, you're going to get over to that number 1 late, and that's where the whole shot gets hit. So that's interesting, yeah, to have that built-in fail-safe where it's I'm reading 1, and if he's blocking, get your eyes, then transition downhill as opposed to coming there late.
Yes, absolutely. So, and what you're saying is perfectly in timing of this picture here. And so with that release right here, right, it's an outside release. Again, no corners in the picture. And so it's almost like we're playing off coverage, but it turns into cover 2, as you can see, right? I don't know what 2 is doing. 2's not in the picture. He doesn't need to be in the picture. I still need to know what 1 is doing because that's where we can get burnt a lot of times. And again, I understand like what's afraid. Everybody's afraid of press because of that deep ball or the side pocket ball, right? I get that. And so if we're reading that release, then we can help our corners out some. That's the mindset behind it. So and now what we'll do is just eventually graduate to where it's both guys, right? So here we're working actually what we call the over and under. My safety's too fast out right here. I'd rather him to play a little bit slower. But the way that our press palm stuff comes into play, there's that side pocket throw. So if it's a 10 or 15 yard route, okay, we want to play under over here, and I would rather have about a 2 to 3 yard cushion. Again, he's fast out. We'll rep some of this in our EDDs, which I did not put in this film, but our EDDs will have a slow, fast go progression to where those safeties are really playing slow while hugging their hash, right? And we're still checking two as well. We're reading two is what we're doing. After we read the release of one, so going back to what you were saying, reading the end man on the line of scrimmage as well, we just have what we call a sprinkler progression, right? So we'll read the release of one, we'll read two for pretty much the majority of the play, and then we'll check the emo, right? So when we check the emo, now we should see high hat, low hat, RPO, what's happening. And by now, it's all folding and unfolding in front of us, and now we can react and make a play. So here we will run some man stuff as well. So now what I'm doing is you can see I've got my back turned to the DBs. I'm giving either a 1 or a 2, real simple. And I'm talking to our receiver here. And so now if I give him a 1, he may be blocking. If I give him a 2, he may be releasing inside. Or if I give him a 3, he may release outside. And then we've also got a coverage called we may be in man. I think we're in man in this particular. No, we're in off. Okay, so we're in off right here, kind of like almost a 4 match, right? So again, just visualizing what it looks like. And so now that the corner sees it and knows, all right, hey, I'm by myself, we can backpedal out. It's not really even a press bell. It's a pre-snap backpedal out, and we're in 4 match. And so it just all matches together with how we check our palms, right? So now we know what we're doing, and now we're visualizing what we're playing in 4 match. You know, one of the things that I've done with my kids a lot of times, so there's the man turn versus the zone turn, right? The first one was a man turn. Now we're in a zone turn. This is more of a cover 3 look, right? But it's all married together, and it's all looking the same. But one of the things that we do is we call it a communication drill. So we'll spread out throughout the entire field, and every kid has to call a coverage, and then we go 3 steps hard. So kind of like I was saying earlier, don't coach robots, right? We'll go 3 steps hard and then tell them to be athletes, right? A lot of times. But those 3 steps are really important in our progressions and in our reads. And so kind of that's kind of what we're doing here. We've graduated beyond that. That usually happens right after EDDs when we do it. We'll do it usually twice a week during the season, usually once a week during camp. Just because I'm huge on communication, you know, pre and post snap. And then what they do here is now they've visualized it. So now my safeties don't have anybody to read, but they're visualizing the game because just like we would in the communication drill. Yeah, so we do play a lot of 2 or 2 read even to empty, and that's where I'll start here. This wasn't necessarily by design that I started with empty. It just kind of worked out the way with my cut-ups here. But as you can see, we're in a press look from both sides to the boundary and to the field, right? So now my safeties, our mindset, one of the things that we teach with our progressions as well as our, you know, landmarks, you know, because it really is the best of a match mindset with our 2 read. We're reading 2, and we can match anything that happens. And then also just a true old country spot drop coverage, right? With our linebackers. Here we're in a 3 down. Whether we're in a 4 down, and we play a lot of 4-3. In fact, we base out of a 4-3. It really can go either way, and we can do a lot of the same stuff, which I love. So kind of going back to alignment for a second. With our press alignment, whether they're on or off the line of scrimmage, which here both number 1 receivers are on the line of scrimmage, we have an acronym that we teach. You know, before the college football playoff, there was BCS. And so our acronym is breath, core, and strike, right? We want to teach that BCS from the get-go. I want to be as close to the line of scrimmage without being offsides where I can smell that dude's breath. And we're kind of in his grill, kind of as an intimidation factor too, a little bit. Our C is going to stand for core. That just stands for I want good posture. I mentioned that earlier in the drill tape where I really want to stare through the belly button as a one-on-one basketball player playing one-on-one defense when we're up there and we're ready. We're squared stance, right? We're not going to tilt to the sideline. We're not going to tilt inside. We're not giving away if we're in man or zone, and we play it very similar. And then what we'll do back to that mirror drill, you know, we'll take steps based on our coverage, right? So if it's a man coverage, our first step will be inside. We're inside hip right now, dropping the outside hand, and we're driving the hip. If we're in a zone, now we want a 2-hand press, just like I mentioned earlier, and now we can drop the inside hand, right, and zone turn and see everything.
Right.
my safeties, we're going to be in more of just, typical 10 to 12 yards, prototypical cover 2 look, cover 4 look as well. We give them a 2-yard hash rule no matter where the ball is placed. And so you can see here, because there's twins to the boundary, right? We're playing this in an empty set. So what we want is to make sure that we're either on or 2 yards in, 2 yards outside the hash. A lot of times it's real easy for me as well, because if I don't like their alignment, I can just yell from the sideline, hey, 2 in or 2 out, and then they know exactly what I'm talking about. So we have a 2-yard rule with those guys, usually 10 to 12 yards. The good ones can play from 15. Any questions on that, Coach?
No, this is great.
Okay, cool.
No.
Yeah, so we'll do a lot of that. Day one, again, just with those EDDs, we want to visualize that stuff. And alignment is really big for us, because we never want to tip our hat. We always want to see or show what we're showing and look the same in everything we do, whether it's empty, whether it's 2x2, 3x1.
Okay, Coach, just going back to the BCS acronym there. When you have your corners line up, do you have them check with the referee? Like, what's the appropriate distance how you coach that? Like, I know,
yes.
Now you guys are in Texas, you play by NCAA rules, but for us guys that play by NFHS rules, the minute you step off sides, like, you're automatically gonna get a 5-yard penalty. I've actually had it happen to my guys twice over the last 3-4 years. So, and I just got to a point where I was just like, hey, you got to ask the referee now every time you get lined up, because I just don't want to get that penalty. Is there any
that's great.
Yeah, are any key points that you have when you're teaching that breath phase?
It's no different for us than it is like with the wide receiver, right? You see the wide receiver point out all the time. We do the exact same thing. Cool. And our officials are pretty good and lenient, like you said.
Yeah, back up or
yeah. A lot of them actually are NCAA officials, luckily. I mean, and that's part of just being in Texas. There's a lot of them that, will officiate games on Friday night and then go right into Saturday and officiate, a couple of games as well. But yeah, what we'll do is just point out there, hey, am I good, sir? And and do our best. We've been offsides a few times, I'm not gonna lie. And usually that's when they're in a pissing match or whatever, or they're just not locked in. And, they may be upset with the receiver for whatever reason, and they want to get a little bit closer and get in that alley fight, like I said earlier. But that's also something that we really want to avoid as well, because I am adamant about not lunging. I can't stand the lunge out of our press stuff, because that's where we can get in trouble, and now we put pressure on the safeties. And so we really try to be patient with that. Yeah, so starting at the top, I thought the boundary corner here did a really good job. And you can see he pushes that dude out of bounds before he even gets to the 30-yard line. And that's exactly what we want. And we're okay. If the official drops his hat, that's fine, because that dude is going to slow down typically. Once he steps out of bounds, he's going to think that he's out. He's out. So he really can't come back into play, although he was forced out by us, right? Here to the field, we're a little bit dead with our feet. You can see him hot him, but he doesn't mirror very, very well, in my opinion. He kind of allows that dude to jump inside of him. The good thing is, and if he would have pushed him, I think he pushes him right into the route, right? He doesn't push him, but the good thing is we stack him, right? So we're okay with that look right there. If we can get 1 and 2 stacked with our backer now working to 2, and he's working to 2 in this particular coverage, because we kind of play, again, what I said earlier with the, good marriage between match and spot drop. We spot drop with our backers quite a bit, but we'll match with them as well. So it's just kind of depends on a game plan situation, but a lot of times we will spot drop with them. And so as long as we can get those dudes to stack, we're good. I would rather him punch right there and throw him in the lap of that receiver that's setting up in the hitch. But we'll take it, right? Like, and that's, to me, that's what the press does, man. It throws off so much of the timing. And here it's just a step and throw from the quarterback. So there's not a whole lot of timing involved, especially when it's empty. There's not a whole lot of protection. But we're able to jump that thing from our backer spot because, those dudes are stacked. And now he doesn't have any room to work. If that guy continues to fade away, he's going to run right into our corner. If he tries to squeeze inside, he's going to run into our linebacker. And it's all based on that inside release right there, in my opinion, of number 1, which is why we're 100%.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. And so here you can see the safeties, right? They're pedaling a little too fast. This is actually the first game of this past season. So I just had literally been coaching them 106 plays. I guess this is play 107. So we were really, really working on that slow, fast progression here.
I was going to ask, Coach, how do you teach that? Is it just a slow back pedal load? Are you kick slide?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just a fallout is what, kind of basically what it is. Yep. We'll fall out. And that's our recognition steps. And then once we recognize, so back to that sprinkler head mindset I was talking about, he should be, one, what's happening, right? All right, read two, my eyes should be at two. And I don't give them a time frame, but the average football play is 6 seconds. I think it is what people say. It used to be 8. Now I think it's 6 because of the quick game and all the things that have happened. But so if it's 6 seconds, then I should spend probably 1 second reading the release of 1, right? 3 seconds on number 2, and then another 2 seconds on emo. And now I should diagnose what's happened, right? And so that slow pedal should be that 1 second and I'm reading 2. Now my faster pedal, all right, what's 2 doing? Reading 1, and now my fast pedal is what's 2, what is 2 doing? And then I can react based on the final read and emo. So here we see, right, 20 personnel, 11 personnel, whatever you want to call it. We can still run the same thing out of this. A lot of times we'll run some mixed coverages as well. But we can still read. I don't know if you can see my cursor or not.
Yep.
Can you see my cursor?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So we'll read this guy as well, right? So now we can read the release of 1 here to the boundary with the safety. All right, we can also read 2, even though he is in what I call a relay alignment, as Dave Aranda puts it. We can still play the same exact coverage here, right? And then over here to the open side is it's normal. With the quick game, I really like press with the quick game. So that's kind of what we're seeing in this picture. I love it because it's very difficult for those to block that guy long enough, right? So all I want him to do is play force. That's all he's doing right now. We're treating this just like a run. So if he can play force, now my safety, as you saw earlier, this is playing out exactly like it did in the film of drills, right? My safety should fit the alley, and now I'm 2 for 2 with the backers coming. So my safety should fit the alley, and as we vice this, my corner should come to the outside shoulder, backers coming to the inside shoulder, safety's fitting head up.
Right. And
so that should be viced perfectly.
Yeah, and just to reemphasize your point, like you were talking earlier on the drill, the safety saw 1 blocking now, so he can trigger and go get that number 2. Right, all because
Absolutely.
of his read. Yeah. If he's on the end man on the line of scrimmage, his read might be a little bit slower here. He might be a little bit slower getting down the alley. So that's what that 1 read comes into benefit. Cool.
Correct. Absolutely. Yeah. And for tunnel screens, it's great for tunnel screens as well, right? I don't know if I have a tunnel screen. In fact, I may have 1 or 2 in here, but on a tunnel screen, we just teach, hey, get in the hip pocket here, right? Get in this hip pocket as he tunnels back around. As this dude comes out and blocks, now we should be filling the alley right now too.
Yep.
And so it really helps it really doesn't matter what concept you throw at us. We should be good as long as we're doing our job. Now, what I do want to do, and again, this is game 2 here. I want to do some shock and shed stuff here, right? So our block destruction is really big out of our press too. We work block destruction until our kids are sick of it. In fact, that's all I've done pretty much this whole entire spring because I didn't feel like we were great at that this past year. We tried to avoid a lot of contact rather than going through. This kid doesn't do a terrible job here. But again, it's a 1 yard gain, and it could have been a negative, if we would have shock and shed and really gotten physical there. But again, that alley fight mindset, right? I want a 2-hand punch, throw him in my pocket, and now I'm beelining it to that ball carrier right now. But it's a good play by the safety, and again, just fitting the alley, we should fit that up really well. Nobody's got the backer. We should have 2 on him, which we do. As long as we're occupying that number 1 receiver on that quick game walk right now, the bubble. Yeah, so 2 by 2, even with the flash motion, it works really well. Again, we can just be patient. So here to the field, you see the immediate inside release, right? So that goes back to our 2-yard rule. As soon as we see that, my eyes are now shooting to 2. If 2 is gone, then I know the safety is going to pick him up, and now I can really play 2 for 1. If this dude sits in the glance, we're playing the glance with the backer, right? We're playing up with the safety. And now I'm 3 over 3, right? So that's kind of how our palm stuff works out. A lot of times what we'll do is we'll sink this guy, 5 to 15 yards based on smash and making sure nothing's coming back out to me. But I can sit this guy in the glance and not have to chase that dude and now get outflanked with anything out in the flat.
Right.
Ends up throwing it right into the glance. But I really think this kid really was thinking about throwing it outside first, and now he sees all of a sudden, it looks like that guy's found a hole in the pocket, right? we're just falling off into it, and now we got linebackers in the window.
Right. And Coach, I don't want to veer too far away from the corners and safeties that we're talking about here, but your apex defender, what's your rules with him, like his assignment and his alignment?
Yeah, so for sure, he's trying to just get hands on two if he can. If two pushes vertical, we're going to wall him. We just do not want him to cross, right, like a sluggo route or any kind of slot fade. We want him to like our two rules really from anybody at this second level, and we consider our corners as second level players. We want to make sure that we're doing two things. We're using our help, whether it's people or boundaries, and we're extending the passing lane, right? So if we can force the ball to go further than they want it to go, we've done our job. And so that ends up being a wall for him. Yeah, well, like mesh, and a lot of mesh with the air raid stuff we see all the time here in Texas. Thank you, Mike Leach. Appreciate you. But I think, with that stuff, we want to really reroute those dudes, especially the shallow. Anything underneath those guys, I mean, he shouldn't cross 3 or 4 faces before he's smoked.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we try to get kids to understand too is like, guys, this is not the NFL. You can hit dudes beyond 5 yards, right? That is not a rule in NCAA or high school football. You can hit dudes beyond 5 yards as long as the ball is not in the air. So put him on the ground, he can't run route.
Yeah, exactly.
He won't be able to run a route on the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's a great question though, Coach. And so in short, like especially when our 3 down, giving these dudes buzz phrases, our overhangs, I really like to tell them, hey, hang out in the slants and the glance, right? Hang out in the slants and glance, match anything that comes to you, and then that's where like you're spot dropping to the slant and glance area, but then you're matching anything that comes in your area. So right here, like he's just trying to find a hole. It's not a terrible route, but our dudes do a good job of sitting in that slant glance and then reacting to where the ball's thrown.
Right. It makes sense with the back to him as well. Yeah. He's probably going to get that cross-face action, him being red. So cool. Yeah, I was just curious, just different ways to teach it and different ways to align to it. Yeah.
Those dudes are crucial in the game
for
too.
sure.
They got to be able to cover for sure. Yeah, like another 2x2 set with the back to the boundary. And so now we've kind of backed off a little bit. We will play a lot of catch too. That's kind of why I put this clip in here. And so I just tag it, right? So if there's no tag, we're pressed no matter what. If I tag it with the catch, then we will play 3 yards off. And so the boundary guy does a good job with it. And honestly, I don't even know if I have the tag down here. But you can even see, like to the field, we're now pressing with that overhang a little bit too. So it's 3-over-2 with two guys in the face of both receivers. And again, that's kind of a mindset, right? It's a mentality. And again, with a lot of questions that I get, I a lot of times I'll answer it with that very answer. Like it is a mindset to play press coverage. And now when you back them up and play a catch and you still have the alley fight mindset, that those receivers, number one, are going to release slower. And then number two, you still can punch them from a 3 yard, 3 yard off position, right? From the catch position. We're still mirroring. Nothing changes with our technique. We're just a little bit further off. We're no longer smelling the breath, but we're still seeing through the core, and we still want to strike post snap. It's good for 3rd and 10. Again, there you go. You got the vertical push here from the field, releases inside. And now, so the safety jumps this route, and this may have been a game plan thing. I honestly couldn't tell you why the safety jumped that route. But great job by the corner, right? So it essentially becomes match. Well, here's that match principles coming into play. If it's straight to or even to read here, to me, our read tells us not to mess with this sail anymore and now to jump outside of number one. Well, he felt like for whatever reason that he climbed, because I tell them anytime, whether it's like a USOM route, if he goes under sound, but over Mike, anytime he goes over any of the 1 or 2 in the linebacking core, then he demands us to man him or at least pay attention to him, right? Yeah. Just hug or hash, that type of thing. So really and truly, this guy should have fallen off and played the fade route, but he doesn't. But a great job here by the corner. And this is where, like, it's not cover 2, it's not cover 4. This is where 2 read comes into play. Well, the corner should see that 2 is gone. And so now he knows he can get on his horse and now play the fade ball, right? And again, it's still a low percentage throw. Right. The last time I haven't seen the analytics lately, but it's a 12% throw, and I'm willing to give that up.
Right.
Have we gotten beat on fades? Yes, we have, and we will. But I think everybody else has too, whether they're playing off or press.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly.
It just happens. There's good quarterbacks out there and receivers for that matter.
Yep.
Yeah. And that was an underthrown ball, but again, we're in position to make a play on it. I thought the corner did a really good job there. Probably could have gotten hands on a little bit better, but now he was able to zone turn. He sees the 2 is gone. He's on the sell route. Now I can get back on my horse, position myself to make a play on the football. So this is probably, as a disclaimer, this is probably my favorite clip of Press Palms coverage that I've seen in my entire coaching career right here. This corner down here to the boundary does a phenomenal job and never lays hands on number 1. So they're running what I call a shake route, right? He's going to release inside and then bend it back out here. They're trying to occupy, thinking that it's really a true cover 2 set because of how hard we play with the hard deck corners. But if you watch this thing unfold and the way this dude plays, this is unbelievable, right? So the inside release, he mirrors perfectly right there. And then he realizes, okay, I got 2 out right now. This is where the 2 read comes in. And as soon as he does that, we call that a retract, right? So you'll see him plant that left foot in the ground about right on the middle of the 0, right? And now that he sees 2 looking like a wheel, I got to get on top of it. So the wheel doesn't happen. It's a shoot route. But now what I tell kids all the time, the only thing that brings me back to the line of scrimmage. So from this point, I really can play 2 routes. And that probably isn't the greatest route by that kid. They're trying to hit us quick. But I should be able to play 2 routes. I should be able to climb, again, to 15 yards or drive to 5. And the only thing that brings me back to the line of scrimmage is the football.
Right.
Routes will never bring me back to the line of scrimmage. If it did, we were in true cover 2. We're no longer in 2 read. Right? Well, now this is basically 1 who becomes 2 post-snap. So, again, as I roll it, they've stacked. We've kind of stacked them, and this is early in the game, but we were really wearing them out, playing extremely aggressive. And so now he's just going to release inside, and now, hey, they forgot about me. But here's what I love about what this corner does. He baits that quarterback right into throwing that shake route. We got the safety over the top of it, and this is that over and under I was talking about earlier. I mean, I couldn't have been better, right? Like, the way that corner I don't even have to lay hands on this dude. I'm going to retract, and now I'm going to just bait. So he thinks I'm going to jump that route. The ball is the only thing that brings me back, and now I can climb right underneath the ball, pick it off, and then he ends up taking it to the house, which makes it even more better. But
that's one of the big things too, from a corner perspective. You can understand what the offense is trying to do to you. Like, they don't want to throw that quick, out route right there. They don't want to throw a 5-yard hitch. They want to try to hit that ball behind your head. So it was almost like you've been in his brain so much that the minute he saw that quick out route, he was like, I ain't taking this bait. I'm gonna sit right there. I'm gonna sit right in the middle of that and bait him to throw that corner ball. So I think that's just a combination of like great awareness and great coaching where, like I said, you can almost see like the trigger in his brain go, I know you want to throw this corner ball, and I'm not taking that bait coming up on it.
It's fantastic you say the word bait, man, because that's what we preach, right? Let us bait the hook. We're going to be the ones to bait him, right?
Exactly.
Not him bait us. Yeah, that's good. And I love that clip, man. Every time I watch that clip, it just gets me excited because that is right there why I love Press Palms, because we release inside, right? We didn't even have to get hands on, which I love to do. But because we played so physical early on, now they're trying to avoid us. And then, like you said, they don't want to throw that underneath route. So
nobody does.
Oh, we got him. Yeah. He's going to think that that's happening. Now he's going to jump the underneath route, and he keeps sinking and then makes a great play on it. I don't have a whole lot of run clips, but I did feel like this one was necessary. So we're about to get a speed option down here to the boundary. And this is how you fit the run out of it, right? So, again, you can see BCS like perfectly done in this still shot right here to the boundary. This is beautiful. Like, this is exactly what we want. It's the same kid I pointed out earlier in the drill tape that I had a really good posture. Side note, that dude just got drafted this past weekend by the Colts, so I'm excited for him.
Yeah.
But this play, as a matter of fact, he's a sophomore in high school, so this was in 2017. And this play right here put this kid on the map. I think he ended up with like 13 offers after this play right here, literally. But if you watch him fit the run, he gets smoked early on. This is Austin Westlake. They're a pretty good program. And he gets smoked early on, but watch the mindset. Again, alley fight, right? So as he gets blocked, and that's a good block early on, but alley fight, we're going to win, and then boom. So that's how we fit the run out of it. So, again, he is a force player, right? As soon as he gets option to him right now, he's a pitch man. That's beautiful. So, again, I don't have a ton of run fits on here. I do have one from the safety position later on that we fit really well. But that's how it fits out, right, with the run stuff. We're playing, force flat with that dude, and anytime he gets straight option or quick game, he's treating it like a run.
Right.
And when I say quick game behind the line of scrimmage.
Right. And just, I know you showed a clip previously, but if I do get a stock block, I'm trying to compress that pocket or play to the outside, like you said, try to force it in and try to be as physical as possible. I like what you talk about that mindset too, because it's like, don't accept being blocked. Like, get rid of it, be violent with it, get to the outside,
Absolutely.
make that thing run back to the alley players and to the safety running. Excuse me, the safety run the alley and the apex player as well.
Yes. You know, and so I grew up in the era of like Dion and those guys that can run like the wind. And, you know, like I love Dion. I think Dion was one of the greatest corners to ever play the game. But it's kind of crazy, like the Dion type player. I'm not saying Dion couldn't play for me. He certainly could. He ran a 4.25. We'll find a spot for him on defense. But those types of players would struggle in our system. They really would. Like, there's two non-negotiables with us, right? You play fast and you play physical, period. End of story. I don't want to hear anything else other than those two things. Like, that's what we're going to do, right? We're going to teach technique. We're going to teach it as well as we can. But at the end of the day, you're going to play fast and play physical. And then I was fortunate enough, like in this picture here, that's Oklahoma State, Baylor, Texas, and Texas A&M.
Right.
I mean,
right.
that's and these three dudes are all in the NFL,
yeah.
right? And so that's what it is. But at the end of the day, we're going to play physical. Run, pass, all that stuff. So that shock and shed, like he does a good job with it here. I don't really like his hand placement. It's outside, but again, alley fight, whatever it takes, right? Get that dude on the ground. So what we'll teach there is usually hand extension, right? We want full extension with the arms, and then we throw him, to your point, we throw him to our inside pocket so that we can keep outside leverage.
Yeah, keep the force. Yep.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
And he did a good job with that. That was a nice play. So this one here, again, another pretty good program in Lake Travis. I really like what this kid does here because of the way he falls off. So this is where the two read comes in, kind of like the pick that we saw a minute ago with my favorite clip. This dude does a good job falling off from number one, right? It's just a smash route, classic smash route to the boundary, two-hand press, right? So we impede the progress of one, and now watch him fall off and then dive and make a play. I mean, that quarterback has no idea. He thinks we're in cover two. He has no idea we're about to read two and sink underneath it. Now we get our eyes on the quarterback because two is pushed vertical. But again, I always want to think that could be smash, right? I got to fall back until the ball brings me back to the line of scrimmage. I'm never going to jump a route. I'm always going to jump a ball.
Coach, do you have a coaching point where like I want to get hands on one first, then flash my eyes back? Like what's the point where I can then, you know, like you see it here, like
shoot drives inside. Yeah,
he shoots his hand, and then like his eyes shoot inside. Like, is there a coaching point for that?
There is that 2-yard rule that I talked about. Remember when I was showing the drill tape where we turned it horizontally from the sideline?
Yep.
That's really we want to ingrain that 2-yard mindset into those dudes. So anytime that dude is outside of 2 yards, it's either too late if I haven't gotten hands on him, right? Or he's already like the picture earlier where the kid was literally probably 3 yards before he even crossed the line of scrimmage inside. I don't need to get hands on. He's already done what I needed him to do, and now I can snap my eyes to where I need him to go.
Gotcha. 2 yards.
Yeah,
okay,
question,
makes sense. Yep.
Yeah, so here's 11 personnel in this particular picture. It's funny. This is actually the school in the yellow where I coach now. So kind of a weird deal there. But this young man down here that's isolated, he could fly. Ran about 23 miles an hour, ran a sub 21, 200. He could go. And so we still knew that we wanted to press him because that's what we do, right? That's our mantra. And I love this particular clip. You know, it's an incomplete pass, whoop-de-doo, big deal. But if you watch his release, like this is why we press right here. I mean, again, this dude's no slouch. He's a great ball player, and he was the Oklahoma State kid I pointed out a second ago. But if you watch the release, it is like loud and clear in my mind anyway of how nervous he is about one thing. Being pressed, right? And that dude can fly. He can run. He could run like the wind. But watch his release. We got him. You know what I mean? Like stutter, stutter, stutter. Got him. You know, he should be a one stick. I'm running a slant right now, and we've mirrored him, and you can see our kids are excited about it because that's exactly why we want to press. We're getting hands on. We are dictating what he wants to do. He's more worried about us than he is running his route. You know, and he tried to get a little push off there, and we're right in his grill. And that's it, right? That's the mindset, the mentality that I brought up several times here in this film. It's like and even the aftermath, like watch the reaction of our kids. Like we know, like, hey, we're in your business,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
And that's what I would encourage guys that are thinking about press coverage. I mean, like, man, zone, it doesn't matter. Like, if you can get into people's mindset, you know, yours first and foremost, but now you have dictated how they're feeling about life and the game. I mean, you won, right? That's it. You won.
Yeah,
you're in
I'll even add too, if you face a team that maybe, you know, let's say you play them week 3 and they haven't faced man coverage the first 2 weeks or a good amount of it, and all of a sudden they're going to see it a ton. Like, you have the advantage right there because a lot of teams in your league don't do it, and that's why I love it. You know, because I think not a lot of teams do it either because they're worried about getting beat deep or they're worried about the consequences that could happen. But I just think there's so much benefits from it, and if you do it well,
I agree, man.
Even if you don't do it so well, you're still rerouting with body position. But, you know, I think it's an art that definitely disrupts timing and disrupts everything that the quarterback and the wide receivers are trying to do.
Yeah, 1,000%. Well, and I think, you know, like, even the misnomer of you have to press or you have to play man when you're pressed. You know, like, no, you really don't. Like, and that's where that whole disguising comes into play as well. And so now if you can mix up some zone and some match and some spot drops, all by looking the same. And again, now if you want to back up, which we've backed up here to the field in this particular picture, like, you can do that and still have the same mindset and mentality. I don't know. I just, you know, when I've and I haven't switched jobs much, but when I've gotten to new places and like having to, you know, train the mindset of these dudes to do what I'm asking them to do, especially with press coverage, I think that takes the longest than technique. I really do. I mean, I think, you know, but at the same time, like, when they see you and they feed off of you, that's where it's at, right? That's where you can get kids to, as people say, run through a brick wall for you. Because if you go out and you show like how passionate you are about it and continue to, as you said a second ago, like, yeah, there are things that you can get beat, and the deep ball is obviously a fear. But at the end of the day, like, if you tell them, hey, listen, that's a 12% completion percentage. Well, eventually that's going to stick to them, and they're like, well, shoot. That means 88% of the time it's either incomplete or picked.
Right.
Right?
Yeah,
like,
right, exactly.
There's only 3 things that can happen. It's either an incompletion, right?
2 of them
a
are bad.
touchdown, obviously, or an interception. I mean, other than, I guess, PI, but we don't think about those things, right? So, yeah. So here's a 3x1 set. And again, this is kind of a tendency breaker. A lot of times with the 3x1 stuff, we'll go into a cover 3 mindset or a split coverage stuff. So we've got this corner to the field off here, as you can see, quite a bit. We're still playing palms over here, right? So we're 3 over 3. We're still playing 2 read with this. Over here, we're going to kind of bait it because a lot of times we would poach this dude. And so you can see by his alignment being outside the hash, again, that's where that 2-yard hash rule comes into play pre-snap. We're actually going to bait that. And we feel like he's about to throw the 9 right back up to the top. But there's 2 things in this particular clip that I really love. I love, number one, what the corner does. Again, throwing off the timing between the quarterback and the receiver. And that receiver is a pretty good player, too. They try to throw to him a lot. They isolated him a lot. But we felt like we could get a 2 over 1 in this particular clip, and we ended up doing it. But he releases outside, right? So kind of what you were saying earlier, there's only a few things that can happen. Now the back shoulder throw has become more and more popular over the course of the years, but then also the fade ball. He makes him go further than he wants to. That's number one. Gets a little bit of a shot on him with the hands, and then the safety reads it beautifully. So the safety kind of baits. He's walking towards the middle of the field like he's going to poach, and now he's just off and sees it. And it's almost a side pocket throw, and then the safety just makes a stupid play. But if you watch that corner, he still zone turns. This is what I love about it, right there. And he's able to, if it's underneath, right, there's that under-over coming into play. I'll try to freeze it. If it's underneath or a back shoulder throw, I like our chances on a back shoulder throw.
He's in position.
Picture, right? Yeah, and so, and what we teach there is now, and you can see him, he's almost in a man mindset, like what a lot of coaches would call out of phase. We're still in a zone because we have 2 over 1, right? But in this moment, if it were a back shoulder throw, now we're just going to go match chest to chest, just like everybody teaches, right? Yep. As soon as his shoulders and chest show, I'm going to go match chest to chest, balls in the air, and I should get there around the same time for a deflection.
Right.
But that's just a stupid play by one of the best safeties I've ever seen at the high school level. But yeah, just again, we can do so much. Like, again, to me, that's press, right? The corner makes this play. Safety makes a great play on the ball, but the corner, if he doesn't release it as wide as he does, that ball is gone right now. It's a pretty good throw. It really isn't a bad throw. It's just one step, let it go, and he's probably still running.
Exactly.
Corner threw off the timing, and again, there's press coverage at its best. Yeah, so 2x2. Safety does a really good job here. So he kind of starts a little wide, but as you can see, it's a little slot fade, right? So in the slot fade, we're looking to trap here. We wanted to trap too, and he kind of took a bad angle. He wasn't aligned very well, but they're inverted. We get a lot of inverted alignments because of the way we press going back to the BCS. And so we'll get a lot of this look here where the slot is on and he's off. And so we'll trap that some, and I'll show you some trap stuff in our 3x1 here in just a second and how we've kind of married all that stuff together and what works for us. But when we get this, I really like what the safety does in his read progressions here. So ball hasn't snapped yet, but you can see him right there. He sees that 1 has already cut his route. 2 is gone. He's flipped his hips, right? So 2 is gone. He's flipped his hips, and he throws it right to us.
Oh, yeah.
That's just that's a really good read progression. And he probably could have seen the release of 1 maybe a little bit longer, but when he sees 2 flash in front of him right there, he knew right away, I got to flip my hips and run. And so now really it becomes a new number 1, and I still have to get over the top of him, right? No hands on there. That's really what I wanted to show. Like, again, it's a mindset. No hands on. Okay, well, we're going to invert it, and now we're going to run a slot fade. Well, that dude sees right now that number 2 flashes in front of him, and now I got to flip my hips and go and make a play, right? It was a good job by that safety. Getting good read progression there. So I said earlier I was going to show you a run fit. This is a great run fit from the safety position. And so, they're in basically a 31 set here personnel-wise. So they've kind of packed the box, and so we have too. But I really like what we do here. This is still to read. Again, as I'm going back to what I was saying earlier, we can read the backfield just like we do if he were to split out here in a normal twins look. So he's going to key, we're going to see the release of 1. If 1 blocks, now I can go right now and fit the alley. He's going to key him, and he does a great job, the safety here to the field. Good key right there. He didn't even really look at 1. And then, boom, good fit. So, again, corner stays outside. Backer runs to the outside. We're almost like in a bear look up front, what we call Cinco. It's kind of an okie look. Backer fits out there, and now we're just going to insert right inside and make a play from the safety position.
Yeah, that's a good job.
Yeah. And so we're just keying from the boundary here, right? That safety, all he's doing is keying those backs as well in the 30 personnel. So we should just fit right here in those areas. Yeah, that's good. We should just fit pretty much like they do. Almost an umbrella integrity here, right? We're going to fit like this. And then he's going to stay to the outside.
Yep.
Yeah, so this picture, we can play nub a couple of different ways. One of the things I liked about this, we play a lot of cover 3. And so sometimes this particular formation will put us in cover 3. Not always, but sometimes. But going back to what I was saying earlier, I love being able to match and mix our man principles with whether it's man match, right, or even our zone match stuff with our spot drop stuff. And so here we felt like we needed to load the box because of the nub and then the 2-back set. But now to the field, we're playing a man match, right? So we're going to match 1 and 2, and it's basically banjo is what it ends up being. But if you watch the safety up there, he can flat foot read this. We're banjoing that. It becomes man, and now he's able to jump it because he sees what's happening. So we've got a poacher from the backside. So we're not even worried about that sluggo. So you can see the boundary safety robs him right in the poach right there.
Yeah.
So now we can just jump that route and take off. And so that's where we've matched a lot of our – it looks like Sky 3, right? It looks like it could be even 2 reads still. Ends up being a man match, and then we pick it and take it to the house.
It's a good look. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, this is our cover 3 stuff. So again, we got a nub set, but trips we like to run a lot of cover 3. So all this is cloud essentially, but as you can see, and this is the way we teach it, nothing changes with this dude. A little bit changes with that dude, but not a lot. Now he's in a cover 3 mindset rather than a cover 2 read, right? But we are going to play this exactly the same. The only thing we tell our corners now in our cover 3 is you do not have to sink as much. We're playing more of a hard deck here. So it looks a lot like the old school hard deck cover 2.
Yep.
Yeah. And so now we can still impede the progress of number 1, and I love it right there with quick game. So anytime they're running the bubble, the walk, that kind of stuff, now we can be physical with it. Now you got that dude in the backfield.
Yeah, still play force player on the outside.
Exactly. Again, I'd like a little more shock and shed, but he does what he needs to do and go make a play. It was a nice job.
I like how interchangeable that teaching is too. Like you're not having to teach a whole new concept. It's just one or two slight critiques.
Yes, for sure. And we'll do this a lot, whether it's nub, whether it's like 3-by-1 10 personnel split. We'll do this quite a bit, and then I'll show you another progression. I only have a couple of these in here. So here it's even like tight end, right? Tray set. We got a tray set. We're still running it here to the boundary. It's a pretty good coverage to the boundary because you can still keep your cover 2 mindset to the boundary, right? Like we don't really get hands on there. But what I like about what our corner does here. Again, he gets the inside release. We're playing a little bit of a catch, but now they're running the out and up, and so now he can match that tight end. See, Wise running the shoot, and now he jumps him. Mm-hmm. And we've got everything covered everywhere else across the board. But, yeah, exactly what you were saying earlier. Like, it's not even really a much of a progression at all. There's just a slight changes here and there that we make because we're in a different coverage, right? But it's still marrying those spot drops with the match principles and being able to do some different things and then also have different tags with it as we get on later throughout the year. Yeah, so here's our trap look. So again, like one thing that I never want to give away is when we are trapping. And so again, showing the exact same stuff. I don't like my boundary safety if we're in a 2-high shell, but here you can see we're actually in a 3-high shell. So now the safeties lose their 2-yard rule, and now we got our 2-yard rule dissipated. We're going to play extremely hard decks with these guys. We're still playing slant and glance with these guys, and now you got the 3-high structure. There's your robber. He's our alley runner, just like you would see with Iowa State and Baylor and all the guys that have made that defense popular. Yep. So we're trapping here to the trip side, again, from press, right? So now that I've got the safety off the hash, what we try to do is we try to rob to trap him here, and now we'll match that sometimes. Sometimes we'll come back to a spot drop and retract like I talked about earlier. But I've got a strong safety presence because of the 3-high look, and so now I can be more aggressive and now maybe blindside this dude, right? If they try to throw something quick, which we'll see here in just a second, in another clip, now I can really make an aggressive play to the inside with any kind of quick game. If they try to throw a tunnel screen with these 2 guys coming out the block, I really like my chances of running a trap look here. So we'll mix that in quite a bit as well. So here on the sprint out, this is where the retract comes into play, but it just unfolds so easily, right? And so now that middle safety with the sprint out, his job is to take any intermediate route. The play side safety, his job is to take anything deep. You can see how it plays out right here.
Yeah. Now, Coach, will you call this from the sideline, or is this a check that you guys will make for formationally or game plan wise?
Both.
Both? Okay.
Yeah, both. Yeah. So we do have a call for it, and honestly, that's what happened here. A lot of other times we like it per certain alignments. I'll tell you off camera what that is, but we like it to certain alignments. Here I called it. So I'll mix that. I'll give my kids a lot of freedom if they like it and they look at me and say, hey, Coach, can we run this? And a lot of times if they like it, I'll let them. Yeah. We've had a lot of practice fights because of it, which is kind of fun because this dude doesn't see it. He's not expecting it. And so, again, going back to that rule, you could smoke dudes. Like, as long as the ball's not in the air, it is not a penalty. And so our corners will have fun with coming in here, and again, that aggressive mentality, that mindset, and they will smoke him and then retract, and now we only have to cover 2 and no longer have to cover 3.
Exactly.
So it helps. The outside backers really like it too, the overhangs, because now they can be a little bit more forceful in the run because they're having to relate to 3. not as much as working to 2 like we would in our normal cover 3 cloud stuff.
Right.
So they like it as well. And again, just give them the same exact picture. All right, so here it is. We talked about the quick game. This is a great job by this field corner again. When he slips it, so this one is also called, going back to your earlier question, and he'll slip this quick game. He sees it right now, slips it, and then boom, makes a big play. So again, but like that's Garrett Wilson out there. Little side note, dude is freaking unbelievably good. He had probably 10 or 11 grabs in this game. We couldn't cover him, but he couldn't block us either on this particular play, so we'll take it. But it's really difficult, right, to make that block.
For sure.
mean, first of all, you don't know we're going to slip it. But even if he's just playing normal, like we showed earlier, right, that's difficult. So now we just add a wrinkle. If we feel like we can slip inside, and this is our true trap look. And as long, I tell those guys, read the front shoulder of the quarterback, right? If you feel like you can get get horizontal and then get vertical, I'm all about it. Now, your job is to trap this guy. So if he pushes vertical, you need to meet him at the junction, right? But we will do this quite a bit, and it's, I don't know, we've had success with it.
Yeah, it's his natural path anyways, right? Going inside like
exactly.
that. So you just got to dip the shoulder and get to it. I like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so talk about how difficult it is for number 1 to block, and Garrett Wilson with the Jets. This is Laviska Shenault here at the number 2 spot. He plays at the Jaguars, and it was freaking stud. But it's also difficult to block from this spot, right? And so we run that trap concept inside, and the corner does a good job of just slipping it here. And again, he keeps his same rules. Once we've trapped and we realize, okay, we got to face at us, that is no longer number 2. Number 2 now becomes here. We've trapped.